William Shakespeare. I know you've heard of him. He is probably, and most arguably, the best playwright that has ever existed, and many will say pretty much the biggest genius that ever existed and the best writer in the world. William Shakespeare was so prolific. He wrote tons of poems and plays, and his verse just cannot be matched. Hamlet is known as the greatest play ever written, so clearly it is known as Shakespeare's greatest play. It is filled with drama. It is filled with tropes of stories that I'm sure you've seen probably mimicked over and over again in time. You need to know the story of Hamlet. And by me telling you the summary, there in no way is that discouraging to you to read the story yourself. In fact, it's very important because, as I mentioned, the exam will have excerpts from Shakespearean plays and poems. So you will have to be able to distinguish them, at least be able to be familiar with his writing and his several works so that you can distinguish which plays the excerpts are coming from. I'm going to give you a summary of Hamlet, and you'll probably be quite interested and curious to read it on your own. It is full of drama and excitement and action, and it is a tragedy, unfortunately, so the ending does not end well for our characters, but certainly a race to the end when you're reading. The protagonist of Hamlet is Hamlet, our title character. He's Prince Hamlet of Denmark, the son of recently deceased King Hamlet and nephew of King Claudius, his father's brother and successor. Claudius hastily married King Hamlet's widow, Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, and took the throne for himself. This led Hamlet to have extreme suspicions of Claudius. He didn't like the situation that his mother was in. He didn't like the fact that so quickly Claudius took over the throne, and it made him very suspicious. Soon after, on a cold night on the ramparts of Elsinore, the Danish royal castle, the sentries Bernardo and Mesalius and Hamlet's friend Horatio encounter a ghost that looks like the late King Hamlet. They vow to tell Prince Hamlet what they have witnessed. Soon after that, the ghost appears to Hamlet himself. The ghost tells the prince that he was murdered by Claudius and demands that Hamlet avenge him. Hamlet agrees to avenge his death, and the ghost vanishes. The prince confides to Horatio and the sentries that from now on he plans to, quote, put an antic disposition on, and forces them to swear to keep his plans for revenge secret. Privately, though, he remains uncertain of whether the ghost is reliable. And this is a form of tension for Hamlet personally in the play, because you see, he really fights with himself in the play more than he's in conflict with any of the characters. Let's continue. Polonius, the advisor to the king and queen, tells Claudius and Gertrude his theory regarding Hamlet's behavior. Polonius believes that Hamlet is acting crazy because he's so in love with Ophelia. Polonius speaks to Hamlet in a hall to try to uncover more information. Hamlet feigns madness, which means he pretends to be insane, and subtly insults Polonius while doing it. Hamlet, after welcoming some actors and dismissing his friends turned spies Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, he plots to stage a play featuring a death in the style of his father's murder, thereby determining the truth of the ghost story, as well as Claudius's guilt or innocence, by studying Claudius's reaction. Hamlet has this wonderful idea that he is going to set on a play that covers exactly the circumstances surrounding his father's death, and he is going to watch Claudius react and see if he can gauge whether it's true or not that Claudius had King Hamlet killed. While Polonius forces Ophelia to return Hamlet's love, letters, and tokens of affection to the prince, while he and Claudius watch from afar to evaluate Hamlet's reaction as she returns them. But when she tries to return the tokens to Hamlet and requite what she feels is his love for her, he rebukes her for being immodest and tells her, "Get thee to a nunnery." Now Claudius is sure that Hamlet is not crazy in love with Ophelia, but must be unsettled for some other reason. Shortly thereafter, the entire court assembles to watch the play that Hamlet has commissioned. After seeing the player king character murdered by his rival character by pouring poison in his ear, which is how King Hamlet was found to be killed, Claudius abruptly rises and runs from the room. This assures Hamlet that he must be guilty for killing his father. So his plan for revenge is renewed. Claudius prays for repentance privately when Hamlet catches him and sees an opportunity to kill him without Claudius even being able to fight back. But Hamlet thinks better of it, figuring that if Claudius dies this way during prayer, he would most certainly be sent to heaven, and Hamlet does not want that. So Hamlet confronts his mother Gertrude, and they fight bitterly when Polonius, who is spying behind a curtain, makes a noise. Hamlet mistakenly believes that it is Claudius spying on him, and so he stabs wildly at the curtain, killing Polonius, but pulls aside the curtain and sees his mistake. In a rage, Hamlet brutally insults his mother for her apparent ignorance of Claudius's villainy. But the ghost re-enters and reprimands Hamlet for his inaction and harsh words to his mother. Gertrude is unable to see the ghost herself, so she takes this conversation with the ghost from Hamlet as further evidence of his madness. Hamlet jokes with Claudius about where he has hidden Polonius's body, and the king, fearing for his own life, sends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to accompany Hamlet to England with a sealed letter to the English king requesting that Hamlet be executed immediately. A letter soon arrives indicating that Hamlet has returned to Denmark, which totally foils Claudius's plan. Claudius switches tactics, proposing a fencing match between Polonius's son Laertes and Hamlet, and that this will settle their differences. Laertes will be given a poison-tipped foil, and Claudius will offer Hamlet poisoned wine. This way, if Laertes wins the match, Hamlet will die by the poison-tipped sword. If Hamlet wins the match, Hamlet will die by the poisoned wine that Claudius offers him as congratulations. Well, Gertrude interrupts to report that Ophelia has drowned, though it was unclear whether it was suicide or an accident exacerbated by her madness. Hamlet does well at first, leading the match by 2 hits to 1. And Gertrude raises a toast to him using the poisoned glass of wine that Claudius had set aside for Hamlet. They try to stop her, but it is too late. She drinks and she dies. Laertes realizes the plot will be revealed. Laertes slashes Hamlet with his poisoned blade, and in the ensuing fight, they switch weapons, and Hamlet wounds Laertes with his own poisoned sword. In his dying moments, Laertes reconciles with Hamlet and reveals Claudius's plan to murder him. So Hamlet rushes at Claudius and kills him. Hamlet dies in Horatio's arms, proclaiming, "The rest is silence." Horatio promises to recount the full story of what happened, and Fortinbras, seeing the entire Danish royal family dead, takes the crown for himself. What a play, where almost everyone dies. Really the most pinnacle of all the tragedies that we've ever read. Very important, as I mentioned, for you to read Shakespeare's words himself, not just the summaries that I give you. I want to read from you an excerpt from Hamlet himself. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished.